everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's the 1st of May today, and that means a reading wrap-up of last month's reading as well as a TBR for the coming month. I managed to read a whole 8 books in April, which is twice as many as previous months of this year, so that was exciting. 2 of them were graphic novels, so part of me is like, it doesn't count, but it totally counts. In my last video I was talking about the challenge that I set for myself to read 2 books I own and 3 Australian books every month. So I ended up only managing 2 Australian books, which was a bit of a shame. If I'd been a bit more on the ball I might have managed to finish a 3rd one, but I'll get into that in a minute as to why I didn't. When I posted my last video, I was reading Jane in Love by Rachel Givney, and I said that I was listening to that as an audiobook, even though I had initially discovered it as a paperback and taken the paperback out from the library. Sorry about the noise. I think there's something going on across the road. There's a school across the road, so I don't know whether they're doing something. Anyway, I ended up getting really invested in Jane in Love, and it was really the only thing I was interested in like engaging with. So because I was listening to it on BorrowBox, where 1 track equals 1 chapter, and I also had the paperback, I actually ended up going back and forth and sped through it really fast, which was really cool. I really enjoyed it. I actually wasn't that invested in the love story, but I just really enjoyed the examination of women's roles throughout the ages and how Jane and the woman she became friends with, Isabella, how they helped each other. And yeah, I really loved that sort of story of women helping women. I always enjoy that sort of stuff. Total sucker for that sort of stuff. So I gave Jane in Love 4 out of 5 stars, and I recommend, particularly if you like sort of romantic, whimsical kind of fiction. After that, I started Vigil by Angela Slatter, which I said in my last video would be my 3rd Australian book for April. I'm only at page 82. I haven't even made it to 100 yet. It wasn't grabbing my interest. I have said before that while I like thrillers, I'm not into general crime fiction, and this feels like crime fiction just with a bit of fantasy. It's just sort of the character going from place to place, interviewing people, finding out what they know. I'm not really getting that page-turning sense of like, I need to know what's happening next. That's when I decided that instead I would read The Vanishing Deep by Astrid Schultz, which I bought with some birthday money because I thought, you know, YA, it'll be easy to get through. I'll get through it by the end of the month. Look, if I hadn't bought this with my own money, I probably would have DNF'd it by now, but I kind of want to push through, and it's one of those things where like, I don't really care, but I care just enough to want to know how it's all going to happen. I want to know if a particular character is going to die at the end. There's like 2 possibilities, and I want to know if one or other of them does die or whether they somehow get around it. So I'm going to see this through. I'm a bit further through on this one. I have made it to page 236 of 400. That's probably going to be my first priority going into May. And we'll see. I don't know. At the moment, it's like a 2.5 star. It's not my cup of tea. Maybe it'll pick up later. Who knows? But I have given it 50% already. So it's had a good chance to engage me. I do want to continue with Vigil, and it will hopefully be my 2nd Australian book of May. Fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes. Again, I don't know, like, I don't want to read books that I'm going to find boring, but like, I had wanted to read this one for a while, and I want to give it a good chance. So I guess I'll keep pushing through for the moment. And to follow on a theme of finishing Aussie books that I have previously started and not yet finished, the 3rd Australian book I'm going to try and finish this month is Mud and Glass by Laura E. Goodin. This is like, it's entertaining. Like when I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, I'm into this. But then like when I put it down, I don't feel compelled to pick it up again. So it's kind of a contemporary urban, it's not really fantasy. It's hard to explain actually. It's set in like like it's not set in our world. It's set in a very fictional place. but it's like modern. But and the main characters are hello plane. The main characters are like academics, but it's an adventure, and it's also a comedy. But I think you kind of need to be in academia to get all the jokes, so some of them are going over my head for that reason. But that's okay. So yeah, I want to sit down and read this one. I'm at page 127 of 304, so nearly halfway through. And yeah, just need to sort of give this one my undivided attention and finally finish it. I've owned it since 2017, so it's about time that I get to it, don't you think? I think so too. So I didn't say this before, but my TBR for May is quite ambitious. The books that I'm going through at the moment are the priorities. They're my challenge ones, the Aussie books, the couple of books that I own, even though I'm playing fast and loose with the definition of books I own this month. But that's okay. So following on from my Aussie books, I really want to read Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castell, which is the first in a series. I have a friend who has really highly recommended this series, and his praise does not come easily. So the fact that he really likes it counts for a lot, and it does sound like something I would enjoy. It's kind of a Western, but with magic. It should be fun. There's about 5 books in the series, I think, and my friend owns them all, so I can borrow them all from him. I've had this for months, so I want to finally get to it, give it back to him, possibly get the second book. So that's my plan. And then the second book that I own is a book that I only have owned for like 3 days, maybe. I think I picked it up at the post office on Thursday or Wednesday. Anyway, it's called The Other Side of Perfect by Mariko, Turk, and this was an arc that was sent to me after I won a giveaway from Alan and Unwin, their teen branch. So this is a YA about an aspiring ballet dancer who, after a terrible injury, she basically has to accept that she's no longer going to be able to pursue ballet as a career. She ends up going to a normal high school rather than her performing arts high school, and she starts doing the school musical, and that's where she thinks, maybe this isn't all terrible. So, you know, as a musical theatre nerd, it's totally up my alley. I think it's going to make me cry. And I'm really excited to read that one. Technically, I think, given that I won it in a giveaway, like, I don't necessarily have to get a review up around the release date, but it's an arc and it's a new release and it's a debut, so I sort of feel like I ought to. So that's why I want to read this one this month, and also because I think it's going to be really good and I'm going to cry. So I'm looking forward to that one. So Spellslinger and The Other Side of Perfect are counting as the 2 books I own for this month. And so those 5 books that I've just listed, the Aussie books I want to finish, and those 2 books are my priorities. That doesn't mean I'm going to get to them all, because I might mix it up with the books I'm about to talk about, which are the books that I currently have from the library. And I mentioned last video that I have no idea how to like include library books in the challenge, and I think they'll just have to be extra, and I'll have to see how I go. So the first 2 that I have are Down Among the Sticks and Bones and Beneath the Sugar Sky by Seanan and McGuire. These are books 2 and 3 in the Wayward Children series. I read Every Heart a Doorway, which is the first book, at least 2 years ago, if not it might even be 3 years ago, and I liked it, but because they're novellas, they're quite short, kind of left me wanting more. But I did always say, because it sounded like the subsequent books in the series are a bit more what I was wanting from the first book. So I have been like intending to get to the rest of them, and I saw these 2 sitting at the library the other day, so I thought, you know what, it's time to get to these. The next one is another YA. It's called Ship It by Britta Lundin, and I'm kind of hoping that this is what I wanted Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell to be. So I wasn't really into Fangirl, but this one is about a girl who is very, very into her fandom. She's a fan fiction writer. She's like got this super popular fan fiction that's got, you know, thousands and thousands of followers and that sort of thing. And then she meets the star of the TV show that is her fandom, and he kind of laughs her off when she suggests that his character is gay. And he's kind of, in saying that, he's kind of like isolating a lot of the queer fans of the show, and so it sort of turns into this PR crisis, and the main character ends up traveling with them for the rest of their tour to kind of smooth things over and learns a lot about herself and fandom and where she fits in on the way. So I have high hopes for this one. It sounds like, so one of the problems I had with Fangirl was that it didn't feel to me like Rainbow Rowell had ever spent any time in fandom, and I'm hoping this one will ring more true. It sounds like it will. I don't know why I'm getting that sense, but it sounds like it comes closer to what I'm looking for. So fingers crossed for this one. And then last but not least, the last library book I have is In Holidaze by Christina Lauren, which I actually got out and intended to read at Easter, because I was like, ha ha ha, how funny, reading a Christmas book at Easter, and totally didn't get around it. Now it's nearly due back and I'm going to have to renew it to have time to read it. But this is kind of like a Groundhog Day thing, but at Christmas, and the main character is a woman called Malin, and she keeps having to relive Christmas. I think like Christmas Day, or like the family Christmas sort of season. So it sounds really fun, and I love Christmas books, and this sounds like it'll be a good one. It's got really good reviews, so hopefully I will like that. So like I said, ambitious TBR, 9 books in various states of having been read. And look, if I don't read them now, I read them next month. So, you know, it's only a challenge against myself. So stay tuned, and in the next video I'll let you know how I go with all of these. Until then, bye bye.